Hello, everyone, and welcome in. It's Aaron St. Dennis, the FF Mad Scientist. I am joined by Jesse Moeller at JMoeller05 and Jeremy Schulman at FF_Rebel. We are here for the NFL Week 13 NFC home game previews. We've got 7 of them. They are Eagles 49ers, Browns, Rams, Packers, Chiefs, Dolphins, Commanders, Lions, Saints, Panthers, Bucks, and we kick it off with the Thursday nighter, Seahawks and Cowboys. How's it going, guys?
I'm doing good. I'm just reading people complaining in home leagues about trade blocks and not trading players where they're like, I actually don't want to trade this guy. So I'm like, all right, I'm not dealing with this stuff right now. It's always funny to watch there. Yeah.
Well, between that and Tony Romo in your background, bro.
We're dropping it.
Got a couple. Oh man,
suck it, Romo.
That was against the Seahawks, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. Those magical playoff game. Let me tell you what. Oh,
good times. Well, I'm all about this guy this week, Rashee Rice, my man. Hanging with him, not in the NFC, but we'll talk about him today.
Have you ever met his brother?
Who are we talking about?
Rashee Rice.
Oh boy.
Oh gosh.
We're not going there. Listen, between Dez and whatever else is happening, we're just gonna stay away from all of that.
Oh, Jeremy trying to not get us canceled despite my best efforts.
We don't need to talk about Von Miller. We don't need to talk about none of that stuff. Yeah.
Jeremy's water bottle disappears into his green screen. It's kind of cool. It looks like you're. Anyways. All right, let's get into it. We're off to a stellar show. As always, I've taken us right off the fucking rails because that's what I do. All right. Tonight, Seahawks at Cowboys. As you can see, we've got the matchups on the screen there. 23rd best matchup for Geno. 16th best net matchup for Dak. I believe Dak is probably top 5 or 6 for me, and Geno's a high-end QB2. What do you guys got?
Dak's MVP right now. Like he's playing at just an absurd level. He has the highest, the lowest turnover worthy throw rate in the NFL and the highest big time throw rate in the NFL. And there's only been like a couple people that have done that. And of course, here's like Brady a couple years ago, and Philip Rivers like 09. Like Dak's playing just on a nuclear level. So yeah, Dak's top 5 for me. Like
I misspoke. Dak's 1 for me.
Yeah, he's up there. I haven't looked at my rankings yet.
He's 1. It wasn't top 5. He's 1.
The Seahawks defense has not been good.
How's the secondary? Are they all healed up there, Jesse?
I mean, kind of, sort of, but we got guys that just
kind of, sort of.
Jamal Adams is not what he once was, so he has his issues in coverage as always. Reek Wallen got benched, so they haven't really come out and said how they're going to play this game with since he got benched last week. So we'll see. So I don't know. I mean, and Witherspoon's been he's been their best defensive back, but it's just up in the air right now. So yeah, going against this passing attack is not promising for the Seahawks. Let me just say it that way.
Yeah. I feel that. But one thing I do like about Dallas, we know that's a great defense. But one thing I like about Dak is Parsons, Fowler, Mozzie Smith, of course, Jaron Kearse. All these guys are potentially not going to play or dealing with some sort of minor injury or illness. So it's possible the Dallas D isn't as great as usual, and they kind of let up some points to the Seahawks. So, yeah, I'm a full go on Dak for sure. Geno, I have to in a spot or two, but no thanks.
I don't believe anything you just said. You know who Geno's leading receiver is going to be? Deron Bland.
Yeah, it's possible. It's certainly possible.
He will lead the Seahawks in touchdown passes. Where do you guys have Geno? I've got him at 17.
Let me see.
He's been a disaster.
18?
Yeah.
I mean, the vibes are bad. The vibes are very bad.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's as much a regression for Geno as it is just this injury and whatever he's trying to play through. It's been a couple of weeks, so you hope to see him turn it around. But San Francisco last week was abysmal. Dallas isn't going to be much better, and then San Francisco again. So he won't turn it around until Philly in Week 15 if he's fully healthy. Okay. I'm going to sit him if I can.
So
he's not on the injury report this week, so I guess he's healthy. But
After 10 years of sucking, is it possible his one good year may have been an anomaly last year? Like, it's not like he was good for 10 years and this is his one down year. This is what he's been. This is his best season through 10 years if you exclude last year.
Yeah. The only thing I want to say is yes, we're quick to say that, and I understand that. But at the same time, we're seeing the detrimental effects of terrible offensive line play with Patrick Mahomes, with Josh Allen. All of these guys are suffering because their O-line is regressing. All right. Geno isn't doing much better in that regard in the Seahawks. They can run the ball, but they certainly are having difficulty pass protecting for him. I'm not going to throw it all to Geno automatically sucks. I just think they need to figure out better ways to pass protect.
Yeah, it's so like last year he had a bunch of turnover worthy plays. Like he was up near the top of the league. He just didn't have the turnovers. He got a little bit lucky. It's regressing this year, and you're seeing kind of hit hard. So he kind of is who he is at this point. I think he's a fine NFL quarterback, but like leading you to a championship or anything like that just doesn't seem like it's in the range of outcomes for him. But for fantasy wise, like I think you could do worse than Geno because you're talking about they have injuries on the Cowboys and stuff. But yeah, the vibe, like if you're starting him, you just got bad vibes. You're like, oh gosh, all right, I'm playing Geno. Let's just hope this works out against the Cowboys defense.
Running back, we have Zach Charbonnet, who's not getting a great matchup despite his potential to be a league winner with what I assume is Ken Walker out. I don't know if it's official.
Yeah.
Is it official?
Pretty much.
I think it is. I'm assuming he's
I don't think so.
Yeah. And
he's not going to play.
Fourth best matchup for Tony Pollard. I have them. Pollard at 5. I don't have Zach Charbonnet all that high. He's an RB2 for me. He's 24. Bad matchup. I don't know if I like them in this offense. His workload's going to be there. I could certainly be wrong, but maybe I'll move him up. But for now, he's an RB2 for me, but a low end one. Where are you guys at with these two?
Same range. Like it makes sense. And Pollard, the regression's hitting in a great way, where he could be just like a monster down the stretch, right? It's the volume, the roll, everything's hitting.
The matchups are hitting. That's what the regression. He's had 3 weeks in a row where he's been a top 5 matchup. What was it? Carolina last week, and the week before was what, Washington or
Giants?
Yeah, it's been
Washington
3 wonderful matchups. Yeah. Well, we get to the point where it was like, if Pollard doesn't smash here, he's done, and he smashed. Right. So
and then he did.
It's good.
Back smash. And Charbonnet's role is so good. It's really hard to knock him. Like without Walker, he basically saw an absurd role. It's just the offense struggled, and I don't think the offense will be as bad. So I expect him to have a better game than he did last week. So he should be fine as an RB2 for you this week.
Yep.
I'm looking up Pollard's playoff schedule here.
It's insane. It's right. So he's Seattle, then he gets Philly in week 14, which look, guys like Tony Pollard and Rachaad White, these guys are game script proof because they're using the passing game, they're using the rush game. So it doesn't matter if they're facing a good rushing defense. He can still perform against Philly. Playoff schedule is Buffalo, Miami, Detroit. I want every Cowboy, but Tony Pollard and Dak Prescott especially.
I want to sell high on Tony Pollard is what I want. I want to sell him after this game going into a bad stretch of games because as matchup proof as he has apparently is, he hasn't done much in bad matchups this year. So I'd like to get one more good game out of him here. And if your trade deadline hasn't passed, I'm selling Pollard, but you're more than welcome to hang on to him.
Bye.
The receivers here. Well, do I have any Pollard in any leagues you're in? Let me see.
Let's go. I don't think I'm that competitive.
Wide receivers, we have the 28th best matchup for the Seahawks, 14th for the Cowboys. Lamb is a high-end 1. I'm not sure where I have him, but I'm sure it's high. It's 2. He's at 2. Then I think we have 3 Seahawks receivers who are all low-end 2s, high-end 3s for me. I would be willing to bet all 3 of them are ranked somewhere around 25 to 35 for me in a cluster. Where do you guys have these guys? Oh, DK's my highest at 15. What do you guys have?
Yeah, well, for me on the Dallas side, of course, CeeDee Lamb is going to smash. Gallup, he can't play. I think the real question is Brandon Cooks. What do you think he's going to do? He's very boom bust, right? He's kind of what we expected Gallup to be. And that's great, but it's not necessarily great when, you're facing offenses that are struggling, right? So, yeah, he could catch 1 or 2, but I prefer a safer play in my flex than someone like Brandon Cooks. And that safer play could be Jackson Smith and Jigba in the slot.
I have Cooks at 32, 1 behind Jaden Reed, and that feels right. Like Jaden Reed feels like he has more upside, but the same volatility.
Yeah. I mean, more mouths to feed in Green Bay, right? But I think with Dallas and with Cooks, he's there. The problem is he isn't getting the targets. The last 2 weeks, just 4 and 5 targets for Cooks. He is converting them, which is nice. but I'd like to see that number a bit higher. But the same issue in Seattle, right? You just don't know where the ball's going every week.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. It's like the Seattle offense. It circulates around those 3 wide receivers, but DK has been their best wide receiver, and he will continue to be their best wide receiver. His role is the best by far. He gets all the end zone targets, all that stuff, but it really hasn't worked out. Like, it's been really up and down for Lockett, and JSN, as much as we liked him as a prospect, has not lived up to that wide receiver 1 in the class overall. There's quite a few wide receivers I would prefer over him at this point in Dynasty, which says what it is. But it can always get hit. Come on strong. I can't talk. Sorry, but come on strong and hit towards the end of the season. It's just his role's gotten better. It's just he hasn't fully stepped into like the wide receiver 2 range, and I don't think that's going to happen for the Seahawks because they have Lockett, so he's kind of just capped. So you need him to just be super efficient, and maybe he gets some yak yards on this play. So he is the lowest of these guys for me. I have him like 40 wide receiver 40. I think I have him. Yeah, 37. Then it's Cooks at 30, and then like DK and Lockett are back to back. Like, you trust those guys over him, but it is what it is with him.
Yeah, I just want to say the reason I like JSN is because he is getting, since the bye in week 5, which is early, he is getting consistent yardage. The volume is a little inconsistent, and I'd like to see him get a bit more than 4 receptions per game. But I think that can only continue to grow. The problem is the tough matchups with San Francisco, Dallas, San Francisco again. That's the real issue. But I think he's going to be better down the stretch here.
Is there a way to mute his audio so that Jeremy can't hear me say I agree with Jeremy? Is there a way to do that, Jesse? I don't want him to hear that and get a big ego on him. I agree. All right. Tight ends. We have a bad matchup for both tight ends, but I still have Ferguson at 10. You can play him. Kickers, bad matchup for Myers. I think he's playable. He's really risky, but I don't mind this spot. I feel like they're going to get stopped a lot and be forced to long field goals. I have Myers. Actually, I have him lower than I expected, I think. Where the hell is he? Oh, yeah, I do. I am at 15. You can play Aubrey even in a mediocre matchup. He is 3 for me, so play him. You can play Myers if you want to. I want no part of the Seahawks DST, and I am starting the Cowboys. They are my DST number 4. How about you guys? Anything there that you disagree with?
No, it's hard to bench the Cowboys defense because they've been the best fantasy defense in the league. So you're going to ride with them against an offense that's been suspect at best. And if they pressure Geno, like, then when the turnovers come, so it could be a good game for them.
When I'm betting one of their defensive players on an anytime touchdown, you have to start the DST. That's what it's been like. Next up, we have a wonderful division battle here. Panthers at Bucks. We have the 4th best matchup for Bryce Young, and it doesn't matter. 29th best matchup for Baker Mayfield, and I'm still playing him over Bryce Young. That's how good his rookie year is going. I'm playing Baker Mayfield over him without question. I have them probably in the low teens. Baker at 14. I have Bryce Young at 22. And despite, like I was talking about this the other day, this is the ugliest year I've ever seen for ranking quarterbacks. I have Bryce Young as pretty much my worst of the starting quarterbacks. He's still at 22, and I have 1, 2, 3, 5, 7 after him. But the 7 after him are Boyle, Mac Jones, Bailey Zappi, DTR, Ritter, and like. Once you get to 20, like I have Stafford at 20, I Stafford at 19, and then after that it's Levis, Browning, Bryce Young, and the guys we just talked about. Like, it's rough. Once you get past. If you don't have one of the top 18 quarterbacks, especially this week with all the buys, you don't have a quarterback. Like, it's freaking ugly.
Yes. Bryce Young is very much on the Trevor Lawrence path of just what the F is going on in his rookie season this year, where it's just been a disaster. And so I'm curious to see how.
Wright, though. Frank Wright was a good coach.
Did you hear that he didn't want to involve RPO with Bryce Young because it didn't fit his offense? And I'm like, dude, that's what Bryce Young does. What are you doing? So I think there was a lot of issues with that offense. Like, he's being stubborn. He's an old guy. Didn't want to change it to fit his marquee quarterback. So ideally they set up, but the skill position.
He runs an RPO. He's going to get killed.
Hey, you got to give him something to mix up because this line is atrocious. The skill position player, so you got to find a way.
That's the real issue.
And Tampa's a good matchup to see what they're going to do. So like, I think that he's okay. But yeah, I'm starting him. I have zero confidence in Bryce Young this week. I'm starting him in the league. I have to start him. I don't want to start him. I have to start him. But yeah, Baker's fine. Like, you just roll with Baker. Like, it's the vibes of Bryce Young are horrific right now. So yeah, Baker, he's like my QB 16 or something, and I'm fine with that.
Yeah. I'm definitely starting Baker over Bryce. The problem is it's possible that you don't know with these Wednesday practice reports, but it's possible that Jeremy Chin, J.C. Horn, and C.J. Henderson are all back for this game. Henderson at least had a full practice, the other two limited. So if that's the case, that's a huge upgrade on the back end. It's not going to matter much, but it may cut down Baker's ability to get the ball deep.
I avoided this one in the survivor pool because how many times have we seen this where some dog shit team gets a new coach or their coach gets fired and they play like world beaters just for 1 week? So anything's possible in this one. So what was that?
Oh, I said, look at the Raiders 2 weeks ago with Antonio Pierce. They were like, fuck Josh McDaniels.
They're still doing it, man. They're still doing it.
Yeah. So, yeah, there could definitely be some of that. I just think the talent is much worse in Carolina than it is in Vegas right now. So, yeah.
Like NFL 2023 is like Raiders and Broncos on winning streaks. Like, what are we doing here?
Wild.
The running backs. We have the 5th worst matchup for the Panthers, who are a mess. I guess Hubbard's the one you start there. He's probably an RB3 for me at best. I don't have any other in my top 50. On the Bucs, it's the 3rd best matchup. Rachaad White is my RB4 this week. Thoughts?
Nice. The vibes with White are so much better than where we started out. And you're like, oh, he's inefficient. Well, guess what? Now he's starting to get a little bit better, and that volume's still there. So Rachaad White is the 0 RB king this year. Bow down to him. I was wrong about Rachaad White. I will fully admit that. It's been great. This
is the 0 RB season. Have you looked at like the top 15 ranks in running backs?
Every season, Aaron. Every season.
I mean, look at Kyron Williams, the king. He's back, baby. Yeah, it is what it is, right? It's CMC and just a bunch of scrubs doing it for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I appreciate it, Smitty.
Coming after you.
But yeah, it's pretty funny. So yeah, like you just roll with White. Like you can't fade him. He's too good. It's just you lock him in your lineup and you're good. Hubbard, he's RB29 for me. Miles Sanders is creeping on that role, so I do want to see. But the thing is, Hubbard takes all of the passing work. So in the game against Tampa Bay where they're not going to be able to run the ball, I think Hubbard should be much more effective. Like, if you're starting one of those guys, Hubbard. Yeah, it's Hubbard, and I'm not even touching Sanders. Like, I don't want to play Sanders. Like, it just, I don't see how Sanders succeeds. At least Hubbard could get some passing work where he can get you points.
I dropped I dropped Sanders this week in multiple leagues for either a kicker or a DST for ones on bye. That's how bad it is for Sanders right now.
He's just so
and I didn't even agonize. It's not one of those. It's just okay. See Miles Sanders, bye.
Yep, absolutely.
And nobody picked him up on waivers.
Yeah, and just goes to what you were saying about 0 RB, Aaron. Is Miles Sanders, the ultimate dead zone running back this season, just totally dropped off the face of the earth. Meanwhile, Rachaad White is a king, a PPR king, getting you 15 points a week. So it is what it is.
Wide receiver.
Right one, you're living right.
Yeah. 4th best matchup for Adam Thielen. 3rd worst for the Bucs. I feel like I have Evans the highest. Which I probably do. Let me check here. Evans, I think, is a wide receiver. He is. Where the hell is? Oh, he's wide receiver 8 for me. Then I'm down on Thielen all the way to 24, and Godwin's next up at 29. So I prefer Mike Evans pretty heavily here. How about you guys?
Yeah. So his time with Tom Brady, he absolutely murdered Carolina. Like he was just a one-man wrecking crew against Carolina. Like we saw last year what he did in the championship game. The game before that, he had 15 targets, and you go back to like 2020 season, he's just been absurd. He's averaging over 20 points per game against Carolina. So like we are riding with Mike Evans. He's my wide receiver 8 as well. The vibes are immaculate with Mike Evans this week. Fire him up, baby. It's like it's Mike Evans season. He's just been so much better than Chris Godwin. Like the two are not even close in my rankings. I think Godwin is way down at. Let me see where Godwin's at. He is, if I can find him, he's wide receiver 35. So like there's a big clip between them. And on Thielen on the flip side, I had to drop him just because I don't know how this usage is going to shake out with the new coaching staff and scheme. So I don't think he's going to be PPR cheat code anymore. So he's like wide receiver 30. It's just, I really don't know what to do with Thielen this week.
And on Godwin, he's only hit wide receiver 35 once in the last month where he was wide receiver 34. So it's
it's been rough.
It's terrible for him. I mean, he's getting 7 targets a game, but he's not really connecting. And when he is, his just yards per target are so low that you just can't trust him. I like Trey Palmer, not enough to really fire him up, but I do like that the fact that his role can and probably should grow in this offense. On the other end, Mingo's a nice little dart throw, but you're right. It's Evans, maybe Thielen, and you're avoiding everyone else if you can.
Evans, I'm starting in this one for sure. And then I'm debating between Ayuk and Collins. I think it's Ayuk. Evans, Ayuk.
Let's see.
What are the matchups?
Ayuk gets Philly.
San Fran
Yeah, I
gets
have
Philly.
Ayuk.
That's
It's
nice.
Oh,
Ayuk.
Ayuk.
Ayuk's top 7.
Ayuk, the monster.
Yeah.
So it's
Ayuk
Evans,
and Evans. Yeah.
Evans and Ayuk.
Yeah.
Not Christian Watson.
All right, moving on. Tight ends here. We have a good matchup for Hayden Hurst or whoever it is, Tommy Tremble. Don't care, not playing him. Kate Otten gets a mediocre to low end matchup. I don't really want to play him. I think I'd rather stash him. Having said that, he's 13 for me, so he's on the borderline. He is playable. He's just not really someone I'm not really ready to buy in yet. The workload's there, but I'd like to just stash. The kickers, bad matchup for both Pinheiro and McLaughlin. I think I have them both ranked pretty low. McLaughlin at 17, Pinheiro at 23. Not great. And the DSTs are good matchup for the Bucks, bad matchup for the Panthers. I don't know what to make of this. The Bucks apparently score quite a bit. I have the Bucks as my DST. Where the hell are they? DST 3, and the Panthers are all the way down at only 11. So I guess they're both startable for now. I don't know. I feel like I might bump the Panthers down a bit, but this one kind of scares me because, first game without a coach or after their coach being fired, anything's possible. What do you guys think?
Their defense has been so bad for fantasy. I think they're worse in the league for fantasy points. The Carolina Panthers defense. So I just don't want to touch them until I see better from them. It's just stay away. And yeah, Tampa, you get Bryce Young, you get turnovers. It's just fire them up, baby.
Yeah, and I don't hate Cade Otten this week. I mean, he's getting the looks. It's just with 6 teams on bye, you might not have a better option. You have to play.
Yeah.
Next, we are going to stay with the NFC South. Yay. Lions at Saints, in which is a polarizing game for me because it's the two teams I like. I hate this. I hate when they play each other. All right, quarterbacks. That's where we're going to start. It is a great matchup for Derek Carr, 5th best. Low-end matchup for Goff at 20th. Having said that, Goff I still have at 11, Derek Carr at 18. And as I said, we've seen what it gets like when we're down at 20, so that should indicate how much faith I have left in Derek Carr. He is 18. The cliff seems to be 19 or 20, so he is the break glass in case of emergency quarterback for now. For you guys.
Yeah. Detroit's defense is atrocious right now. So, I don't actually mind firing up Derek Carr, but yeah, what's the ceiling, right? You're talking about. And on the flip side, Goff has struggled recently, where these past 2 weeks where he's been turnover prone, he's just not been the same quarterback he was earlier in the year. I still have him ranked higher, but they're really close in rankings. I think Goff's 11 and Carr's 16. And honestly, don't feel great about either one. That's kind of where I'm at with his QBs this week. It's rough. But with the buys, you're starting either one. I think you're happy to have them when it comes down to it.
We
Instead
have
of streaming in that just
news.
dumpster.
Yeah, the Zach Ertz news.
Yes, as if I wasn't already high enough on Trey McBride. Zach Ertz was just released.
Yeah, no surprise. Trey McBride's the GOAT, baby.
He was released according to, I don't know if this is...
I got it from Fantasy Pros.
No, I'm saying I don't know if it's just trying to hype him up, but released it in order to seek a job with a contender because he's certainly on his last legs. But that does mean that maybe he's healthy and finally, coming off the IR. So I don't know, but yeah, fire up Trey McBride.
And I was divorced. I was divorced in order to start a relationship with Scarlett Johansson. Let's see how that works
out. He's gonna sign with the Giants or something.
Listen, man.
Patriots, they love that shit.
And you land in the Johansson or whatever that phrase is. For quarterbacks here, Goff, yeah. I mean, it's more about the running backs. We'll talk in a second. For Carr, he's might be without Olave this week. He's probably without Shaheed this week. It's not looking pretty, so I'm avoiding if I can.
It is pretty if you're planning on streaming A.T. Perry this week.
I mean, is it though? Is it? It's not. No.
We'll talk about the tight ends.
Johnson.
They're both insanely high. Both tight ends this week.
Hill.
Yes, both are top 10. It's bonkers.
Alvin
what could go wrong?
Kamara,
right?
26 receptions.
Bump over, honey. Yeah.
Running backs. We have 21st best matchup for Detroit, 30th best for the Saints. So not great for Kamara. I would assume he's still my highest ranked. He is. Kamara is still 5th for me. I go all the way down to 16th for David Montgomery. Oh, never mind. Gibbs is higher. Gibbs is at 10. So I have 3 top 16 backs in this week. That could be an indication, obviously, that we have 6 teams on bye, but I think there's at least 3 RB2s in this game, if not a couple of RB1s.
For sure.
Could be 3 RB1s.
Yeah, it could work out that way. Gibbs is just money for fantasy. Like, he doesn't even have to have a giant role, but like his role is elite. David Montgomery, if he gets a touchdown, his role is elite. Like, both these guys are top 15 moving forward, like every week. And Kamara, they look like we're talking about. They have nobody else on the Saints. Literally nobody. Like, their wide receiver room is just Perry and the ghost of, I can't even tell you who's on the practice squad right now. Some scrub that like nobody wants to talk about. So yeah, it's Kamara. Like, all day. He's RB2. Those guys are both top 15. So yeah, I'm riding with it all.
Oh yeah, I mean you can't hate it. And David Montgomery is doing what David Montgomery does. He's getting 15 touches. He's being efficient with them, and he's getting in the end zone. He's only not scored in one game that he's played this year. I mean, you just fire him up. He's a near lock for a touchdown. He's got that Jamal Williams role that Jamal Williams doesn't have anymore, and we see how terrible he's looking, right? David Montgomery is just in the sweetest spot in football, and I like Monty, Gibbs, and Kamara. If I had to order them, it'd be the opposite of that. Kamara, Gibbs, Monty, but still, you got to save floor with Montgomery there.
Yeah, we're seeing Monty. He's like a plus version of what Jamal Williams was last year because he gets receiving work too. It's like she's just a better player.
Yep.
Is it possible like Detroit Lions are just the fantasy gold mine for like cheap running back goal line touchdowns every year?
Offensive line,
yeah, they
baby.
have a ton of them. Yeah,
that's true.
It's fantastic.
It's the same thing as Philadelphia, except the difference here is Jared Goff doesn't vulture all the goal line. Could you imagine how great DeAndre Swift would be if they didn't have Jalen Swift doing the tush push, Jalen Hurts to do the tush push there and take all those touchdowns? Good God.
Well, imagine if Anthony Richardson were healthy, right? Zach Moss would never be a thing. So it just is what it is.
Or Jonathan Taylor next year.
Good God. Oh, God, that's terrible. So, all right. Wide receivers, 6th best matchup for the Saints. For whoever plays, someone off the practice squad is going to have a great week. 27th best matchup for the Lions. I am sure I have ARSB high. I do. He's 3rd. My next best player in this game for receivers is going to be way down. A.T. Perry at 45 is my next best. And then I have J-Mo at 49 for the Lions. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I have a lot of my rankings, but I don't expect him to play. He's like wide receiver 16. If he's in, like, I'm super thrilled to have him in because that would be a saving grace for Derek Carr. But yeah, like we're getting really down to it. I'm like scrolling down the rankings. And I'm like, oh yeah, Khalil Freeman, like Josh Reynolds, all these guys are ahead of all the Saints dudes. Like it's Keith Kirkwood is the next highest like Saints wide receiver.
Yep.
Can you tell me who Keith Kirkwood is? If you can, you're a bigger degenerate than me. So yeah, good luck with that.
I'm a Saints fan, so I knew who that was, but still.
Yeah. But also, Lynn Bowden got 64% of snaps last week, so they're just doing whatever they can to kind of stem the tide. We'll talk about the tight ends, like you said, in a minute.
All right, and with that seamless transition, the tight ends. Good matchup here for Laporta. Good matchup for Taysom Hill. Good guy. Juwan Johnson actually got a lot more play last week. Sam Laporta I have at 3. Taysom Hill I have at 8. And Juwan Johnson at 15. Loaded tight end situation in this game. The DSTs, we have the 17th best matchup for the Lions and the 24th best matchup for the Saints. I have neither inside the top 12. I have the Lions at 14 and the Saints all the way down at 25 out of 26 teams. The Saints just cannot stop anyone. Well, they're banged up too. Lattimore's been out. Sorry, that was the DST of ranking I've read. They're both mediocre for DST, but regardless. The kickers, they are 17 and 24 there. And I don't know if I probably have Riley Patterson inside the top 10. I do at 9. Riley Patterson at 9 and Blake Groupie all the way down at 16. So it's not a pretty situation aside from the tight ends, but you can start the kicker Riley Patterson. Other than that, I don't think I want to start either defense here. Both kind of scary.
No.
When last time we had 3 running backs and 3 tight ends going into a game, all ranked inside the top 15 in the game? Like that's pretty bonkers. Mm-hmm. And like one wide receiver, it's such a weird game, this one.
Listen, I am firing up Taysom Hill everywhere I can. He's a lock for me to score a touchdown. I'm happy to bet that anywhere I can as well, which I can't because I'm in Amsterdam and they don't like foreigners. And that sounds worse than I meant it. But hey, Stephen A. Hit me up. But the biggest issue here is that they don't have anybody else, right? So Taysom is going to touch the ball probably 10 times. He might throw the ball. He's going to put it in the end zone somehow this week.
We have 4 games left, and I looked and I'm like, wow, actually all 4 of them are half decent. So we will go with probably the worst game of the remaining 4 to get it out of the way here.
Arizona?
No, that's on tomorrow's. That's an AFC game, I think. Browns at Rams. So I have Flacco in. I don't think DTR is going to play.
It's going to be Flacco.
12th best matchup for Flacco. Want no part of that. Worst matchup for Stafford. I want no part of that. I don't have Flacco currently ranked, but when I do, he's going to be like 22. He's going to take the spot I have that DTR's at, which is like 22. Yeah. And Stafford is my lowest ranked non-Bryce Young player. He's 19. And then after that, okay, so he's 1 behind Derek Carr. Behind him are only Bryce Young, Levis, Browning, Walker, and the rest of the shit sacks. So that tells you how I feel about Stafford.
Yeah, it's rough. Flacco's right behind Bryce Young in the rankings. It's like Bryce Young, the last, I guess, starting quarterback, and then it's just dumpster fire. So it's like, all right, Joe Flacco, you've been the best of these guys in the past. By the way, he's going to check it down a bajillion times. So this is really good news for like Ford and Hunt and David Njoku. We'll talk about it in a second. But like, he's got the quickest release in the NFL. He's not going to want to get hit. He's old, man. His bones hurt. Mm-hmm. So he's just going to 2-step drop. He's going to get the ball. Like, that's what he's going to do. He's pass rush. So, expect super low ADOT and all that.
This is why I hate fantasy football. Can you look at the rankings for quarterback? 21 to 29 are Levis, Browning, Walker, Ritter, DTR, Flacco, Zappy, Jones, and Tim Boyle. What is going on?
What's going on is Lamar is off, and there's who else? Josh Allen is off. Mm-hmm. Like, there's a bunch of high-end guys who are just sitting on their ass this week, no fault of their own. So,
well, injuries too. We've got Jets missing a quarterback. Although the Jets quarterbacks have been so bad that Aaron Rodgers has taken something out of his mystery bag there and has got him back practicing after tearing his ACL. So
he's on some voodoo magic, Aaron Rodgers.
He doesn't move anyways. Let him go back out there. It's not like
of course he does. That's his whole game. His whole game is moving enough. He's Tom Brady light. He can move enough.
Tom Brady didn't move either. Tom Brady was a statue.
Tom Brady moved a ton, just within a phone booth,
Right. Quickly, we're gonna see Aaron Rodgers' release is gonna be a half a second when he comes back. Yeah. He's like, "Nope, this line's terrible. I'm getting the ball out immediately."
Remember Ben Roethlisberger?
Yeah, exactly. He's like, all right, get it out. No, you're not touching me.
Okay, so it's crappy matchups for both running backs as well. 25th for the Browns, 20th for the Rams. Having said that, I'm probably still starting 2. I have got Kyron Williams at 13 and Jerome Ford at 20. So I still have 2 RB2s here. I feel like I might move Kyron up a little because I have Mostert ahead of him, but I'm not confident in that. Just goes to show you how much faith I have in Zach Moss. Good God. Thoughts?
So this is Kyron's role. Like, he came back and was like, "Hey, guess what, guys? I'm by far the best running back of this team. Kick these scrubs off the roster. Give me all the touches." So like, that's what Kyron does, and he fits that scheme perfectly. Like, I think that was the undersold part about Kyron is like his fit in the scheme and offense they run fits his skill set like ideally. So that's why he's getting all the touches. It works really well. On the flip side, we're talking about like Ford is much higher ranked than Hunt just because he gets all the passing work and he's going to get a ton of checkdowns in this game. So Ford's top 20 for me. Kyron's top 12. He's right behind David Montgomery. So I'm confidently starting both these running backs. The matchups aren't great, but I really don't care. Like, the volume in the role is good enough. So we're right with him.
I really don't want Kyron to play well in this game because he did what he did against Arizona, and it's a great sell high moment, but you just can't deny the role. Right. Stafford is going to continue to check down. He saw 6 targets last week and converted that, scored 2 touchdowns through the air. I mean, he's not going to score. He's not going to be the RB1 like he was last week, every single week going forward, but he could be an RB1 every week, especially on that volume. So fire him up for sure.
Good God. Running back's just as ugly as quarterback. Like, my top 15 includes Kyron Williams, Jerome Ford, Zach Moss. What are we doing? What has happened? This season's drunk. God.
Every season is drunk for sure.
It happens
That's what it
every
is,
year.
though.
Yep.
When you're on running back, that's why I hate them, and I try not to draft them unless I'm forced to. So
Wide receiver, 20th best matchup for the Browns. They have Flacco at quarterback. Second worst matchup for the Rams, who have Stafford at quarterback. This is ugly. I'm pretty sure Nakua is easily my highest ranked guy here. Nakua is 16 for me. I have Kupp at 22. I have Amari Cooper at 30, and then the rest fall off the planet. Eli Moore down at 42. So my highest ranked guy is Nakua at 16. That tells you how I feel about these quarterbacks and matchups.
Yeah, I don't know why people seem to be so down on Puka lately. Like, he's just been better than Kupp since he's been back, and he's just the metrics and everything's good. He's just not scoring as many fantasy points. But Kupp's not really doing anything for you. But yeah, those two, it's so much higher than Amari Cooper. I really don't want Amari Cooper. Like dealing with that injury coming off, like he's supposed to play, but it just seems treacherous to play him this week. And yeah, so like those two, I think Kupp's 39 for me. I'm really worried actually about Kupp. So he's a lot lower than I expected to have him, but is what it is. And then we get down to like the Elijah Moore, who's like 50 if you really want to take a dart throw on somebody who's going to be getting short, underneath, intermediate stuff. That's like the thing is Elijah Moore has just been awful. Like he's been really bad with any metric you look at. So it's really hard to have confidence in him this year. But yeah, he's top 50 for me. So, fire him up, I guess, if you're really desperate.
No, that's what I was going to say is that, Nakua by far is the number one ranked guy, but Elijah Moore could be the number one guy by the end of this game. You just don't know. Kupp is obviously injured. Nakua, we're just, we've seen him fall off the cliff. Tutu Atwell led the team last week on 3 targets. So it's just a mess over there right now. It's not going to get any better against the Browns. I will desperation flex Elijah. But otherwise, it's not looking great.
That is easily the best analysis I've ever heard you do of a game. I was frozen the whole time, didn't hear a word of it. Didn't hear a fucking thing you said. I froze sometime around, I think you were talking about Eli Moore. I don't know. I heard Elijah Moore. That's it.
I'm glad you didn't hear. I was shit talking you the whole time, so
I'm
glad it didn't come through.
I just assumed that, but that's all right. That's all right. All right, moving on to the tight ends. We have probably the best player to own on the Browns right now. David Njoku gets the 6th best matchup, and the worst for Higbee, who I'm going to say this. If you have Higbee, check to see what Jeremy tweets out before the game. If he shit talks Higbee, fire him up. If he doesn't, leave him on your bench because it's the worst matchup. So
Good point. Two touchdowns on the season for Higbee. Both came last week immediately after I was crap talking him on Twitter. So
I have Njoku at 10 and Higbee at 22.
Higbee caught 5 balls. Higbee caught 5 balls on 5 targets for 29 yards last week. What are we doing here?
He's efficient. Beautiful. It's beautiful. That's Tyler Higbee in a nutshell right there. Right?
Jesus.
Please tell us where Tyler Higbee hurt you, please.
Yeah, for real.
In my lineups. Okay,
so kickers, 7th best matchup for Dustin Hopkins, who's been the best kicker on the season. He is the best D-hop in football, and the third worst matchup for Haversick. So we are firing up Hopkins, and we are benching Haversick. You like that, eh? Best D-hop in football, eh? So defenses. Good matchup for the Rams. I don't know about that. I don't know if I want to play Flacco. I don't think Flacco turns the ball over that much. He's just going to check down the shit out of this. So if I look at my rankings here, I have the Rams at 9 and the Browns all the way down at 18. I don't really want to start either of these. My gut tells me I'd rather start the Browns, but that's because I love the Browns defense. I don't know. I don't know why the Rams are such a bad matchup for DSTs. Stafford turns the ball over a ton. I'm not sure why it's such low fantasy production, but what do you guys think?
Yeah, like I'm much like the weird thing with Flacco is like I just don't expect him to get many yards. So he'll check it down, but I don't expect him to score a lot of points with him this week. It's his first week back. He's been just chilling, living the good life, been doing whatever he's been doing. And then he's like, hey, we need a starting quarterback. Okay. Flacco's like, sure, fire me up. Let's see what I got. I don't feel good. I really the only guy I want is Njoku on like the Cleveland side and for like those two. But Njoku's going to see like a bajillion targets, like no doubt. Like he's going to see all the targets. So yeah, like those two, nobody else.
And the only guy that I want is DeAndre Hopkins faces Indy, Miami, Houston, Seattle, Houston to end the season. Go buy him. Go buy him.
He might finish second of all the D-Hops in fantasy scoring.
Well, I mean, he's the one kicker one, right? It's really hard to beat those.
Good God. I wonder who has more fantasy points. I feel like I want to look this up now.
It
Just
might be
see
Dustin.
which Hopkins has more fantasy points. All right, let's move on to Dolphins at Commanders. We have the best matchup for Tua. Good Lord, this has Denver written all over it. And the 14th best matchup for Howell. Tua has got to be high. He's 4. And where the hell is Sam Howell? Sam Howell is 7. So fire up both quarterbacks in this one. What do you guys think?
Yeah,
hang on. I've got
the
results of our poll. Dustin Hopkins is the kicker 1 with 118 points. DeAndre Hopkins 134 PPR points.
Hopkins can catch him this week. He might catch him this week.
Not against Indy. He's good. He's getting in the end zone.
Oh man, yeah. Let's hope so. We desperately need it. It's all right. Yeah. So Tua finally gets a good matchup. So we're back to like rolling with elite Tua this week because this Washington defense is atrocious. They literally cannot stop anyone. They can't pressure the quarterback. They can't stop a run. Like they can't do a damn thing. So we saw any team going against them. We saw Dak light them up. We saw Geno light them up. It doesn't matter. Like they're just getting destroyed. So Tua, like you start him, he's like my QB2 this week. Like we are firing Tua up everywhere and riding with Tua. And
that's the best scenario though, because the Dolphins are total frauds and can't score against a good defense. So I think I wrote that in my start sit that they're total frauds and can't score. Luckily, the Commanders are not a good defense. So start them.
No, they're not. There's college defense better than them right now. It's just rough. Yeah.
Look at these rankings: first, second, first, third. They're good against tight ends apparently, but you weren't playing Durham Smythe anyway. So
exactly.
Well, they traded away all their good players. You know that's what happens. You know, Ron Rivera's done. The whole team is done. Tua, you got 2 weeks in a row. Washington and Tennessee, fire him up. Otherwise, the Jets again, Dallas, and Baltimore to end the season. So if you can trade him at any point after a good game, do it. Otherwise, yeah, Sam Howell will volume his way to a decent game, but it'll be tough for him to sneak into the QB1 conversation this week, I think.
Hey, don't you shit talk Josh Allen light.
I enjoy Sam Howell, but he's no longer the QB4. I think he's QB6 now, so he's dropping a little bit. We need
apart.
Yeah, we need Sam Howell to step it up here at the end.
All right, running backs, 12th best matchup for the Dolphins, 23rd best matchup for the Commanders. And despite this, I feel like every week I'm really low on Robinson. And yeah, I have him as RB20. He's like RB3 on the season. And for some reason, my projections still can't get him up any higher. Yeah, I'm going to move him up manually here to RB14.
Yeah, they're all clumped together in rankings this week, like including A-Chain, Mostert, and like Robinson. So I need to adjust these rankings because it's all 24, 25, and 27. And I'm like, yeah, no, we're fixing that. Like that's way too low for those guys. But yeah, like this is the ideal matchup. I get it. Like the fantasy point's not been the best, but Mostert and A-Chain could easily find the end zone, have big plays and all of that. So you want to start both of them, fire them up. And B-Rob, his role is fantastic. So rankings and projections might have him that high, but like he's a solid RB2 at worst case for you. Like he's just going to get the volume and do all that. Gibson's healthy, so he might cut into a little bit of his role. Right. But overall, like you still fire up Robinson.
Yeah, that's the one thing I was going to say is that we know that Washington's going to be down, so Gibson could see some work. I'm not trusting it because I think Curtis Samuel probably goes nuclear again this week. But yeah, Robinson is a smash play, although I would like the Dolphins backs over him.
Wide receiver, second best matchup for Miami. Good God. 13th best for Washington. So I probably am going to have 3 smash starts here. I assume Hill is Hill's my wide receiver 1. Waddle is my 7. And Terry McLaurin is 15 for me. Where do you guys see this?
I'm trying to find McLaurin. Where is
I have Samuel at 35, and I don't even know where I have Dotson. Dotson at 39. So I have 5 top 40 wide receivers in this one.
On McLaurin,
a lot of defense.
On McLaurin, real quick, over the last, it looks like 7 weeks, he's had a low of 7 targets. He's just only scored 1 touchdown, so he's not really converting into high-end fantasy points. That's really his issue. The volume is there, The problem is Howell isn't super accurate, so they're not always connecting. And then the lack of touchdowns is the problem for him. But the role is awesome. So you wish he could be converting more, but it's not a Terry McLaurin problem, that's for sure. So yeah, I like him, but I also like Curtis Samuel. I think they just need him. The problem is he's not consistent week to week. That's really why I have him on a squad or two. I can just never bring myself to start him over more reliable options, but he's a nice boom in a great boom spot, I think, to do it again this week. Yeah, and on the other side, you're firing up Hill and Waddle and expecting massive days.
Yeah, I think Samuel is the perfect best ball guy because, like you're saying, you can't. It's impossible to start him. I mean, this week with all the injuries and the buys, like I actually don't mind flexing him. Like it could work out. It's just Dotson's been incredibly disappointing. As good as McLaurin's role is, he's been disappointing once again in fantasy. So we kind of just, it is what it is with him. Like they're throwing it 40+ times a game, and these two wide receivers are still getting
45.
Yeah, so it's still rough. Like you're like, this is the perfect situation. It's still not working out. So that's a little bit on the wide receivers as the quarterback. But yeah, like Samuel's just throwing on their side. He's a good player. Like it is what it is. And the other two, like you don't even talk about each fire Hill and Waddle up and expect a $115 touchdown from each one. Basically.
Yeah.
Tight ends, I have Durham Smythe outside 25. I have Logan Thomas as a low-end tight end 1. He's 12. He can volume his way. Sly, I want nothing to do with. He's been bad, and it's a bad matchup. Sanders, I have as my kicker 6 on the week, and he was one of my streamers in my article. I'd like to fire him up. The Dolphins were also a defense I have in the article. They are my DST 1 on the week in this lovely matchup. And the Commanders are DST or a 13th best matchup. I want no part of them. So fire up Thomas if you need him. And both Sanders and the Dolphins DST are solid streaming options and are on waivers in a lot of leagues because they were it's amazing. I've had a lot of leagues where I've been streaming positions this year. So I've been streaming. I streamed both of them a lot this week. Thoughts?
Yeah. If you're starting the Commander defense, you're going to be doing the Jameis, just pain everywhere. So don't start the Commanders defense, whatever you do. No, thank you.
Agree. And Sam Howell, despite a weird game against the Giants, he's just not turning the ball over a lot through the air. So it's just something to consider there. But he will get sacked. So you can fire up the Dolphins D for sure.
So he's not turning the ball over. What you're telling me is he might be better than Josh Allen?
No.
I don't know about that, but I do know he's better than Patrick Mahomes this season. Oh, no.
I'm going to quote tweet that to Dennis later.
Okay, bookmark. Still the QB13?
Did you bookmark it too, Jesse? We both bookmarked it. Yeah. I'm sending that to Dennis.
Just
that's 6 point.
All right.
Mahomes is the QB8 and 6 point, but hang on. He's worse than 4 point. Let's see.
Good God.
Just this is good dead air podcast.
Jeremy's gonna find that win. He's gonna find that win.
No, it's still QB8. Oh well, it is.
Oh,
but screw up.
We
still got QB6 Sam Howell ahead of him.
Moving on to the Chiefs, as we discussed them. Chiefs at Packers. Bad matchup for Mahomes. Bad matchup for Love. Mahomes is still I don't know. Was he 3 for me? He is 3. And I have, where the hell is he? Jordan Love is 12 for me. I'm actually higher on Jordan Love than I have been. He's actually looked decent. So I'm firing both of these two up. Obviously, I would much rather have Patrick Mahomes. Both teams have pretty good pass defenses, though, obviously, by the rankings here in the matchup. I don't love it. I don't think this one's going to be a shootout, but I think both are pretty good starts. Thoughts?
Yeah. Jordan Love is QB9 for me this week. So that was surprising to me when I saw those rankings. But yeah, this is the gut check for Love to see because he's had really good matchups lately. So now he's going up against possibly the best defense in the NFL or one of the best defenses in the NFL to really see how good he is gelling with these wide receivers. So as good as it has been, this is the game where I'm a little more cautious than I would be like the past couple of weeks just because Kansas City's defense is so good. But with that said, he's been incredible. The wide receivers are coming on strong. He's top 10 quarterback. Like you're firing up both quarterbacks. And I get it. Mahomes has not been vintage Mahomes, but he's still been very good. So you fire up both these guys.
Totally agree. This is gut check for Patrick Mahomes, right? If he can't be, he did it last week to the tune of QB8, but against the Raiders. He did it the week before, but against the atrocious Philly D. Now he's got a decent secondary to deal with, and there's a bit of a pass rush. Rashawn Gary went nuts last week, right? So who knows if he's going to be able to be upright and getting the ball to this guy but you're still firing up this guy anyway because he's a monster, Rashee Rice. I think this is more of a Pacheco game, though, than a Mahomes game.
Yeah.
Moving on to that, I have Pacheco at 6 right now in the 10th best matchup.
Move him up.
19th best matchup for the Packers. I think I have Aaron Jones ranked, or not ranked at all. Dylan's at 28. I don't have Jones ranked because I don't know if he plays. If he plays, I don't know how long he plays. I just want to completely avoid it. Pacheco I have at 6, and I may move him up. No, I have him at 7, and I'm moving him up to 5. He's 5.
Yeah,
I like it.
Fun caveat is both Jones and Dylan missed practice yesterday. So, yeah, like that's exciting, right? So, I wasn't starting Dylan anyway. I was like, I'm just done with Dylan.
Yeah,
like
you can't.
Not even on a roster. We're not doing Dylan. I don't care about the role. He sucks. Like, we're just not doing it. Yeah, if Jones plays, like he'll be a low end RB2. It's just you don't know how healthy he's going to be. Kind of an issue with him all season, right? He's still talented. It just sucks. And on the flip side, Pacheco's top 10. Like Pacheco's been very good. The role sets up very well. They've leaned on him more because they've struggled with passing attack because, as our friend Harry says right here, that wide receiver room is incredibly gross, and that is so true. So outside of Rashee Rice, Rashee Rice is the one guy, the one shining star in that room. The rest of it is just look at these names: Hardman, Moore, Tony. Like, no, thank you. We don't want that. Yeah. So Pacheco, baby, it's Pacheco week. He's top 10.
He's going to be an absolute monster. I don't care how good Green Bay is up front. It doesn't matter. They've been giving it up. And, Pacheco's seeing it in the receiving game as well. Mahomes just doesn't have time. He has to check down. He can't run around the way he used to. He's been trying, but it was nice to see him check down to Pacheco 5 times last game. That should continue.
The receivers here, bad matchups for both. I have a lot of players ranked in the 30th here. My highest ranked of all the receivers is Washi at 26. And then I have Dobbs and what? Dobbs and Watson. Nothing. And you heard that wrong. I didn't say that. Dobbs and Watson I have all ranked in the 30th. So or 30s. I think I have 4 wide receiver 3s in this group, with Rice being possibly a wide receiver 2. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I'm with it. Interestingly enough, McKinnon was another DNP. So if he's not playing like Jeremy was talking about, like that's just good news for Pacheco, getting more checkdowns on this offense, right? Because that takes out the passing down role for him. So yeah, far enough. I mean, outside of Rice, I really don't want a Kansas City wide receiver. I'm not sure exactly where they're ranked, but let me double check. But the Packers guys are all clumped together once again. We have Christian Watson, he's top 24, and then it kind of comes down to Jaden Reed and Romeo Doubs in like the 35-36 range. Obviously, Rashee Rice is the highest guy for me. So those are top 22 guys, both those guys. So I'm starting both those confidently. Then after that, we're not really touching anybody else.
Yeah, I mean, I just love Rashee Rice. I don't necessarily love the matchup, but I love the way he was used last week. Finally, they threw him more than a few screens behind the line of scrimmage. He's been a yak monster this year. I believe now he's up to 7th in the entire NFL in yards after catch. He's getting it done. Get him the ball. I don't want to hear about Kadarius Toney. I don't want to hear about Drop King Justin Watson. I don't want to hear about Sky Moore. You need to get the ball to Rashee Rice after Travis Kelce and let him work. Outside of that, I don't want anything to do with Kansas City. I'll fire up Watson, then Reed, then the rest of them over there in Green Bay.
Tight ends, middle of the pack matchup for Kelce, bad matchup for Kraft. Surprise, surprise, Kelce is tight end 1 for me. Tucker Kraft, I have all the way down at 17. Not loving him. I don't mind him with no Luke Musgrave, but he's more of a stash for me. The kickers, 21st best matchup for Butker. What is that? Sorry. 32nd for Carlson. I would assume I have Butker ranked high. I do. Butker's at 6. Carlson is not. Carlson's down at 22. And at DST, bad matchups for both. 22nd for the Chiefs, 26 for the Packers. I have the Chiefs still at 8, and I have the Packers down at much lower. Packers down at 23. So start all 3 Chiefs, avoid all 3 Packers in the end is kind of what my consensus is here. I don't know about you guys.
Yep. The one thing I want to say about the Chiefs real quick is they haven't played anybody this season, and if they had, they lost, right? So they lost to Detroit on opening day. They beat Jacksonville, Chicago, the Jets, Minnesota, Denver, the Chargers. Then they lost to Denver again, beat Miami in a close one, lost to Philly, and beat Vegas. So the schedule gets a little more difficult. at least with the Green Bay and Buffalo on the docket. But they're going to just kind of ease their way into the playoffs this year, and they're not very good. So just Mahomes has to continue to feed Kelsey if they want to win here.
We will close the show out with the game of the week. It is.
It's in Arizona. Oh, no, that's next week.
What's the game of the week? Come on. What's the best game?
No
San Francisco, Philadelphia. That's what it is.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, wait, why am I not seeing this? Hey, I'm up there. Fuck everybody.
That's the game of the week. So we have the second best matchup for Purdy, third worst for Hurts. It doesn't matter. Hurts is my 2, Purdy is my 6. I am firing them both up. This Philly pass defense is terrible. That's why Brock Purdy is ranked so high. What do you guys think?
Yeah. There's confidence with the 49ers. Interestingly enough, on the flip side for Philadelphia, it's probably going to bring everybody down because San Francisco's defense is so good. So, like, the rankings, I'm just going to have these guys ranked lower than I would normally. So, just a few spots. But, I mean, Hurts is just, he's incredible. He's QB1 basically every week. So, we fire up Hurts. We don't care about the matchup. Like, you just put him in your starting lineup and you just roll with those sweet, sweet fancy points. He was not even good last week, and he was like a top 2 quarterback. Like, that's just, he had 5 touchdowns somehow and, like, no yards. It was incredible. So, yeah, you fire up Hurts. You roll with it.
Yeah, Hurts is gonna smash. He's gonna put 2 more touchdowns in on the ground for sure. But I am Brock hard for Purdy this week. He is going to absolutely crush this terrible Eagles secondary. You have to fire up every quarterback against the Eagles. Do it.
Bookmark that.
Oh yeah, that's a good one. That was well thought out. Well done. I was not prepared.
I am uncomfortable. All right, moving on to the running backs after that high note. Why do we always go off the rails towards the end of the show? Third worst matchup for the Eagles. I still have DeAndre Swift at RB20 this week. Worst matchup in fantasy football for the 49ers. So as a result, I have Christian McCaffrey as RB1.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what it is, right?
I don't care.
You literally can't fade McCaffrey. I don't care.
It's
like his WAR above the second highest running back is by far the biggest gap between any number 1 to number 2 player, like in any position. It's a massive gap from him to, I think it's Mostert. Like, it's just a monumental gap. Like, McCaffrey's a whole different level. He's single-handedly carrying teams to playoffs. Like, that's how good he's been. His advantage is better than Kelsey, better than any wide receiver, better than any quarterback. Like, he's just a fancy god. So yeah, we love McCaffrey. I don't care about the matchup at all.
No, totally agree. On the other end, it's Swift, and Swift is a little concerning, right? If he's not finding the end zone, he's really not putting up the points that you need him to. And of course, we know that Jalen Hurts is out there vulturing touchdowns every week. Last week should have been a smash spot against Buffalo. He only put up 8.9. This might be half PPR points, but 80 yards and nothing else. 80 yards on the ground, 4 through the air. So against San Francisco, they'll probably need him. But Hurts has taken those rushing TDs away, and he's not checking down because he's a rushing quarterback. So we knew this could be the case with Swift. All that said, he's still the RB7, right? So you're still playing him, but the matchup is not good.
80 yards is a great game if fucking Jalen Hurts doesn't vulture all his fucking touchdowns every week. Exactly. 80 yards in a touchdown is a hell of a game, but fucking Jalen Hurts. So, all right, wide receivers. We have the best matchup for San Francisco and the 12th best for Philly. So there could be fireworks here. I have all 4, I think, in the top 20. I have AJ Brown at 5. I have Ayuk at 11. I have Deeb Hole at 13. And I have Devonta DVS at 15.
What'd you call him?
Debo. I'm not a Debo fan.
Yeah. No, I thought you called him Deep Hole, and I thought we were
oh my gosh.
Deep Hole. I called him Deep Hole.
Deep Hole.
Anyway, so I have I have all 3 or all 4 of them are 15 or higher, including DVS.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
they're top 13, all 4 of them. So like I don't care. You just put them in lineups. It's just an ideal matchup for the San Francisco guys, and the Philly guys are so good. The interesting thing is Goddard's trying to play this week, so we will see what happens on it. He hasn't been ruled out yet.
We'll see.
If he comes back, maybe that changes how we have Smith ranked. But in the meantime, I'm just treating like Goddard like he's out. So that's what I'm going with at the moment.
Speaking of out, I'm out. I'll be back in 2 minutes. We'll see if we're still on air.
We won't be. So see you later.
Later.
All right. See you.
Okay, and moving on to tight end, we have 11th best matchup for the 49ers. Fourth worst for the Eagles. I have Kittle as 2. And as you said before, I have Goddard unranked because I don't think he's playing. Just a sec here. I got to click over. Kickers, we have bad matchups for both the Niners and the Eagles. I have Jake Moody still at 5. I have Elliott. I have Elliott at 1. So they are both still top 5 kickers despite the matchups. This game may end in a lot of field goals, so a lot of extra points. So there should be great opportunities. So they're both top 5 for me. The defenses, I'm sure, are still decently ranked, but 11 for the 49ers and 22 for the Eagles just shows you how good the offenses are. This is a great week where if you could stream a second defense and sit San Francisco, I would advocate for doing so. But if you have to play them, there's worse things that could happen. Who was it last week? I had Buffalo last week against the Eagles, and I couldn't afford to bench them. And no, it didn't work out terrible for me. They didn't hurt me. They didn't help me. It was just kind of, they got me 8 points or something. It wasn't terrible.
Yeah, because the turnovers, they saved it.
Yeah, that's what you get. You got turnovers.
Yeah, I'm with you. It's just I really don't want to play their defense, but San Francisco defense has been so good. Like I would much prefer to play them than the Philly defense. The Philly defense just has not been that good this year.
Yeah, there's just one thing I'm looking out for. If Goddard is playing, if I have to fire him up, I will, but that should cut into Devonta Smith's usage as usual. So just be prepared for slightly down game potentially. You might want to put some other boom guys in your lineup to cover for him.
Agreed. You guys want to hit on this for a second?
Sure. Go ahead.
Do you guys have any interest in Ertz after he's leaving the Cardinals?
For free?
Yeah.
I'll give up a bench spot for a free Ertz for sure, but otherwise, no, I'm not making moves to get him. I'll take him up off the waiver wire and throw him on my IR spot, but that's about it.
Yeah, I'm with you. Yeah, he needs a good offense, like, and a really good quarterback, and I don't think he's going to end up in that situation.
What a great landing
and no competition.
Well, okay, that's having said that, Miami, he lands in Miami where there's no tight end and a high. I don't mind. I'll pick him up off of waivers to stash him for a week in Miami.
That's probably the best situation he could walk into, like honestly, because their tight end
they just don't use it. You know, they don't use the tight end as much, and with Tyreek Hill and Waddle out there and Achane coming back, like Mostert, like the amount of speed, and then you're going to throw Zach Ertz into there. He's just never going to see the ball.
Speed. Yeah,
yeah, exactly.
I'm trying to think of another team that could use a tight end, and I can't think.
I saw someone mention the Ravens, but I think Likely
is he better than Likely? I don't even think he's better than Likely. Yeah,
I think where a team is gonna need him is for his blocking ability. So I think that's where the Ravens make a little bit of sense because he can block and then leak out. But yeah, I'm not excited really about wherever he goes because he's going to have competition and he's going to have to learn the playbook. And, the blocking assignments are the biggest issues. It's why young tight ends typically, even though the league's changing, typically don't pop off in the first year. They have to learn so much on the O-line.
I think thankfully he's never really been much of a blocker, so they've used him more of a wide receiver throughout his career. So it's a little bit easier for him, but agreed. If it's a new playbook and a new scheme he's not familiar with, it's going to take him a while to get up to speed. So I'm just honestly not really that interested in him, to tell you the truth.
Yeah.
All right. I guess that wraps it up with a great game. Sorry, I'm dealing with something else at the same time.
All good, man.
No, you'll see you're in the chat. So you'll see exactly what I was responding to, but
okay. I see it. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for tuning in. We will be back tomorrow. I think we're going to have to do 12:30 because I've got something to do before that and can't make noon. Tomorrow we have the AFC home games. Like I said, at 12:30. Thank you everyone for tuning in. From Aaron, Jesse, and Jeremy. Take care, and we will see you tomorrow. Take care.